Joining me here in studio, we're sitting right between Chris Brockman and I, is none other than my good friend and colleague from many drafts on the NFL Network. He is Charles Davis. How many drafts is this on the NFL Net for you?
I believe it's 12 or 13.
Damn, man.
Yeah, but I never forget my first one. And this would be quick. But my first one, if I'm not mistaken,
okay,
and you know how time does it, I sat up in the rafter seats at Radio City Music Hall by myself, and the idea was that I might get some hits. Mm-hmm. One hit, and you remember how it was in the old days. Day one of the draft.
You never got to speak.
What was it? We do 3 rounds then?
Oh no, we did all when we showed up at Radio City. We would do. I know I did all the way through to Mr. Irrelevant.
Right,
it was a 2-day.
It was a 2-dayer, but I'm saying the first day was what, rounds 1 through 3?
1 through 3, yes.
And so I sat up there for rounds 1 through 3. And I remember being up there, and I don't know if it was the same draft or not because of time. I apologize. But that, unfortunately, for my friend Brady Quinn, that was the Ted Ginn draft. Mm-hmm. And that was the biggest explosion of noise outside of a Jets or Giants pick. Remember, because we're always anticipating those in Radio City.
Yep.
And when they announced Ted Ginn, I remember being up in, I feel like I was up in those rafter seats, and place went, I mean, the roof came off on that one. People went crazy. And those who realized I was there for NFL Network were,
what just happened?
I was like, I'm with you. I don't know what just happened.
I know. And that was the draft for me where I realized for the first time that Roger Goodell being commissioner meant all figurative bets were off on how things were being run entirely in the NFL. So just because they had been done a certain way for as long as they'd been doing them, for the draft, for the combine, for the Hall of Fame, for anything. Everything was now on the table.
Darn near since Burt Bell.
Because that was the draft when Brady Quinn was dropping.
And he got him.
He would see the shots on the screen of Quinn just in the Aaron Rodgers spot, in the Thurman Thomas spot, you know.
Leland McElroy.
You could just go on through the history of the televised draft of prospects who would just sit there stewing in their own sweat, waiting for them to get the phone call. And he was sick and tired of watching Brady Quinn do that. So he went and got Brady Quinn out of the regular green room and put him in his personal commissioner green room where there are no cameras.
No cameras. And that was a really cool move.
And that was when word came down to all the television partners as well. No more shots of the prospects waiting for the phone calls past, I guess, the 5th pick.
Yeah, something like that.
And now we don't show them anymore, too, because them on the phone tips off the fact that they're about to be getting drafted.
And I love the fact that we got to that. You know, people love the intrigue. People love the mystery. And people at home are spending their time betting each other on who the pick is.
Right.
And they want to debate it out. So I love the fact that the pick is organic for everyone.
And in the evolution of the draft, you know, it just every year with just seeing the way that the draft hall set up here, Vegas is just going to be insane. Going from Nash Vegas this year to Vegas actual next year is going to be insane.
Has that been announced? Is that for real?
I think it's in Vegas next year.
Yeah, I think it's been announced.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm hearing that they're turning Fremont Street into the draft hall. So that's the idea. That's what I'm hearing.
Wow.
So anyway, long story short, though, is that it just shows you, again, it is a television show.
Yes,
they could do this draft on an encrypted website like a fantasy football draft and be done with it technically within a few hours. But instead, it's a television show, and it's an event. It's an event that travels. The people in Nashville here are so fired up. You're wearing your Tennessee hat. You're a Tennessee Vol. You know what the sport means to the state. Right, exactly, and we'll get to that in a second. The reason why I bring all this up is that proof that this is an event and it is a television show is the fact that if you and I are called off our sets due to lightning tomorrow night, draft's still going.
The show goes on.
I mean, there's still because there's no way. We were just joking off air. Could you imagine Mike Mayock's first pick as a general manager? They stop the clock because there's lightning in the draft hall, and somebody looks Mike and just say, "Hold off on your pick. Hold off on your pick." There could be other teams that are trying to maneuver right now.
No pick.
To mess with your later picks.
Nothing.
But you can't make your pick right now. Hold off.
Could you imagine?
Because there's lightning in Tennessee. Could you?
Fortunately for the commissioner's office, that would be a phone call because Mike is in Oakland and not someone having to walk in and tell Mike and John.
Right.
that that's going down that way. And we were just laughing, right? I mean, okay, the commissioner goes up and says, Lightning, TV, everyone's having to leave, what have you.
Yeah.
We're suspending the draft. The Raiders have 6 minutes and 38 seconds on the clock left when we come back.
We'll be right back.
Right? It'd be like we use suspending play in golf, and the next day you got to remark your ball. Right? The ball was here when we left it, or pick your sport. Right? Baseball.
Yes.
Runners were on second and third. It was a 1 and 2 count.
That's right.
Back in the box.
Put the tarp out.
Back in the box and off you go. But we're not going to do it.
I'm just
that
wondering,
way.
are they going to have like a setup? Like they have to come up with a setup to continue announcing the picks.
They have to.
Because the broadcast can emanate from anywhere. Right. So we're covering it. A worldwide leader will cover it from Los Angeles and from Bristol, Connecticut, respectively. But somebody from the NFL has got to still make the picks. And I'm just wondering, like, could we get like Gil Brandt in his Barca lounger, like sitting there in his living room via like Instagram Live,
fit as he's being measured for his Hall of Fame jacket,
right? Or hold on a minute, or we tell Mayock this is the best thing, and then we'll move on.
Oh no,
we tell Mayock, make your pick. They're not going to announce it from the stage in Nashville because there's a weather delay. There's an orangutan at a zoo in Indianapolis.
Named Rocky. Named Rocky.
By the way,
do you remember how much fun we had?
Well, I went into the truck yesterday after.
Did you watch me? Did you watch me sweating?
Well, no, and into the truck. I went into the truck after our dress rehearsal yesterday to look at all the tapes. There is, and I Instagrammed it out, a great 38-second montage tape of
Rocky
of the orangutan and how pissed Mayock was during our draft.
I absolutely lost it in that segment. I mean, you had to try and brace me up during that time.
Well,
because I was laughing so hard.
Oh my God.
Remember, I laughed so hard that I needed the John Thompson towel. Okay, I needed the Coach Thompson towel, and people think I was laughing because of the orangutan. I was laughing because Mike was so beyond ticked off.
He was really legitimately pissed. Like, this is their.
And at one point, Mike did say, if I see that chimp one more time,
I know.
I'm walking off the set.
And then say what you said, because you had enough cojones to basically say, I think it's an orangutan, right? It's not a chimp.
I did. I jumped in with the orangutan. Not to be specific. And do you remember, I was laughing so hard, and Mike was so mad. He was so furious, and I couldn't help it. I just kept laughing because I knew where he was coming from.
Gosh.
And people have to understand, because Rich can co-sign on this one, I'm guaranteeing. Mike's heart is in the right place on all of these because he wants the kids to get their due.
Yes.
And he doesn't like it when we take away from that. So that is pure, all right? That's someone who cares. I'm with him, but that moment was so nutty that I absolutely lost it. And then I don't know if it's on the tape. I doubt it is.
Yes, Charles Davis.
I broke down the playing attributes of Rocky.
Yeah, and then we put it up on the board. Like we had like our own little graphic for Rocky, the orangutan. Oh, my God.
And I said I'd play him at will. I'd play him at will. I said I'd play him at will in a 3-4. I said, could you imagine him shedding with those arms,
of course,
and shedding a blocker?
Yeah.
I said he would be the best run chase linebacker.
That's right.
And I looked out of the corner of my eye, and Mike's looking at me like I ought to just
because
kill you.
Because he was disappointed in you.
Yeah, he was, because
we're gonna miss that.
I had lost that part, and that was the same draft that was so much fun because not only did we have Rocky the orangutan. Bruno Sammartino announced the pick for Pittsburgh, and I rolled into a professional wrestling riff, and I thought he was going to come over there and choke me out. It was outstanding. So I was like, oh, yeah, you remember, and he trained Larry Zbyszko, and then Larry turned on him, and I wonder if they ever repaired that rift, and people are looking at me, where did we go?
Well, that's day 3 of the draft when we get a little bit loose, and Charles Davis here on the Rich Eisen show. What are you hearing about the top of the draft right now? It's amazing how much.
Boy, it just keeps going, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know how much of this is sand being thrown in our faces and that it really is going to be Kyler Murray at the top, or because it just doesn't make sense to me that
we're too far down the road.
That the Godfather deal for Kyler Murray from another team that they would get because they have put on the face that we're going to take him if you don't come up and get him. Like that moment, I would think will have passed. If you remember,
I feel like it has.
The Rams traded out in the RG3 spot weeks before.
Yes.
The Eagles moved up into the Wentz spot
twice
weeks before, right? They had to make a move to get to the spot.
The Rams
right.
jumped up ahead of time,
right,
to go from 15-1 to get the Titans.
So that hasn't happened. So the point is like, are you going to take him or not? Because you got Josh Rosen to put his fractured sensibilities back together again. And I'm sure time might heal all that, but we're reading stories that Aaron Rodgers still couldn't forgive Mike McCarthy for giving the check mark to Alex Smith's pick when he was with the 49ers. So what do you make of all this?
And that last part's not surprising because that's what all the great athletes do, right?
So
if there's a chip to be played, they'll carry it right to the grave with them.
So Rosen is hanging in the balance. And so what do you think of this?
I still believe Murray goes 1. I think that it's actually been good for not just us, but for the draft itself, that there is some doubt at this point with the number 1 pick. You and I both know that when Charlie Casserly, our colleague, signed Mario Williams first, it hurt that draft.
We talked about that yesterday,
from a viewer, from a league standpoint.
Correct.
Because now 1 and 2 were done. Because we knew New Orleans now was taking Reggie Bush.
I agree it helps the broadcast.
So it helps the broadcast to have some of that, but I still think ultimately they get to the podium and announce Kyler Murray at 1, and then the draft truly begins at that point because who does San Francisco take it to? Is there any movement there?
It should be Bosa, right?
I would think it'd be Bosa because I just think that he can play the defensive end opposite D Ford, and then when we get into those nickel and sub packages, which we're playing, whatever that percentage is, 75, 80% of the time, whatever it is, he just slides inside next to DeForest Buckner, who had a breakout year last year. D Ford coming off of an edge. Wow, I really like that. I really like the looks of that. And I think he's the most technically proficient pass rusher in this draft. I mean, watching his hand placement, what he does. I mean, there's this one piece of tape for me against, I think it was Oregon State. He pretty much took the poor tackle from Oregon State, grabbed his one arm, and spun him like a battling top. And continued on and hit the quarterback upside the head. He's that type of a player to me, and I know the volume and body of work isn't there as much because of injury, but we're doing that with kids who are just getting 1 year of playing time as a starter and coming up to the NFL now. So we just have to evaluate faster.
Charles Davis here in the Rich Eisen Show, and then when we did our mock draft, which is our dress rehearsal, and the picks that come out are like kind of a consensus of everybody, all of our analysts, right? And they put it all together. So, Chris, when we were doing our mock rehearsal yesterday, or a real rehearsal of our mock draft,
who went first?
It went Murray, and it went Bosa, and then outspat the Jets with Ed Oliver at 3. And I'll tell you, as a Jet observer, I'm like that. Yes,
because that was a yes for Rich.
Well, yeah, because to me, if he's not Aaron Donald, he's still going to be a damn fine pass rusher.
You'll take Aaron Donald light.
And somebody who's right there in the middle who can stop the run on the way to the quarterback. To me, his upside, and a line that I used, by the way, during the rehearsal that Coach Shaw, who's on our show tomorrow, loved, and I might actually use on the air, is that they should tell Oliver he doesn't get a Jets coat because Tom Brady stole it, and say that to him before the Patriots game. Go get 12. He took your jacket.
Because
that's what you do.
Because if you're not playing, you can't have a jacket.
I've heard that story with
the University of Houston.
That's what I mean. Like, you say Brady took your jacket. And
go get it.
That's number 12. Go get it.
And besides, if you tell him, look, if you say that he's half the player Aaron Donald is,
right?
That's 10.5 sacks. Right? Because Aaron.
By the way, that's a great sacks. Kim Basinger movie too. 10.5 sacks is great.
Nice.
Mickey Rourke.
Nice.
But I still sit on a refrigerator. It took me a while after that to enjoy food again.
But do you think that out of all the choices after Bosa,
everything's up in the
right? That's what I'm saying. Would Oliver be your choice?
Oliver or Quinnen Williams. I think it's got to be their flavor on the whole thing. And the way I look at it, Rich, is very simply this. Oliver has a better body of work overall because of 3 years at Houston. Yes. People want to talk about last year and shutting it down. And okay, that's fine. Anyone see him in the first 2 years?
Right.
Okay. Clowney went through that at South Carolina. Oliver gave him more last year than I think Clowney did his last year at South Carolina. And then the flip side is Quinnen Williams is a 1 year guy. But we have to keep remembering to quantify what that means. He's a 1 year guy at Alabama. So who was there prior to? Why didn't he get on the field? Oh, that's right. Deron Payne was there. Jonathan Allen was there. Oh, they were first-round picks. So he played. He was in the rotation, but he wasn't that key guy. And I just thought he took it and ran with it in his 1 year there, and there's no reason for him to go back to school. It's time for him to come out. So either one there. 4 is what gets interesting with Mike and John, because we keep hearing the surprise pick coming out and the scouts got sent home. I don't know that necessarily that a surprise pick means quarterback. Didn't we run into that last year with New Orleans?
Yep.
I was all in thinking New Orleans had come up to get
Lamar
get
Jackson.
Right? We all thought he would come.
I said it on television.
Listen, it made sense.
Yes.
It wasn't just something you plucked out of the air.
Right.
And then they gave us Marcus Davenport. Whoa,
Right.
that was a whole different deal. So I don't think it's necessarily that. And the one thing to keep in mind, trace John's history as a head coach and ask yourself, what rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks did John like working with?
None of them.
That's what I keep coming back to. Okay,
None of them.
You're gonna tell him now. Okay, this is it. Now maybe this is different because it's only his second year back in Oakland, and maybe he thinks I can reboot with a new guy and go from there. I'm not convinced that would be the move there at 4. But I will tell you this, Rich. If it's a surprise, and I know edge rusher, and interior rusher, any kind of rusher is big for them. Linebacker is where I keep coming back to. A guy to set the defense, start over. I know Brandon Marshall is there. I know that Vontaze is there, and I figure Vontaze will play about half the season if he's, suspension, whatever.
White from LSU?
Devin White from LSU or Devin Bush from Michigan?
Well, here's a few things here.
That would be the surprise to me.
Because I know you got to go, and we have to hit break
Yep.
too. So let me just finish this up full circle in 2 minutes. If that all happens,
Yep.
me, and I'll say this again, Mayock, you said he got pissed about the orangutan making picks because he wants to give the kids their moment.
Kids are due.
That he had the same respect for scouts.
He certainly did.
Always, on air, off air, mentioning scouts' name, has nothing but respect for scouts. I think he sent them home because they're tightening the rotation up there.
They are.
And their draft board might show that they do like players that if Derek Carr heard about it.
Then we got a whole nother call.
And how big of a problem would it be if they actually don't take those quarterbacks?
Right.
They need to just tighten the rotation.
He's
heard what he's heard from the scouts. It's his time with Gruden and whoever else they have in the room.
And they're not his
That's
scouts.
not right. So send him home. I didn't take that in any other way other than just him trying to tighten the rotation his coaches do in the playoffs.
Ask around the league. It's tightened everywhere.
And if he goes, Mike Mayock, with his with his first pick, somebody like you just mentioned at the linebacker spot. I mentioned it on the show yesterday. I told the NFL Network to pull the sound, if you will. They're working on it. Last year when we were on the clock with the Browns on our broadcast, Mayock went on like a 40-second soliloquy about how a general manager like John Dorsey, it's his first pick as general manager, as a first pick as a general manager. You've got to choose someone that lets the building know this is my idea of a prototypical player for us. On field, off field, character-wise, everything. And so thinking about what you just said, like White or Devin Bush, that makes total sense for Mike to make that pick with Gruden. Obviously, it's Gruden's call. I think ultimately,
it's his call.
But that's what it would be. And then ultimately, to bring it full circle, if Mike Mayock's first pick as general manager is a Michigan Wolverine, I am going to text him. I'm going to blow his phone up.
Do you know if he does that, Rich?
Fantastic.
Rich, if he does that, you know what it would be like? It'd be like Dollar Bill shorting the Elon Musk flight that blew up. Remember that one?
Fantastic.
Remember when Dollar Bill was sitting there?
Look at you going billions on the
right?
way out the
Is
door.
Dollar Bill sitting there and the rocket goes up and poof, everybody's standing there in shock and Dollar Bill's like, heck yeah, just hit the short, baby. And their lives are lost, all this time and money for NASA gone, and Dollar Bill is locked in on
Fist
how much
pumping.
they made. Take that full circle to the Chicken Man. When Dollar Bill is ready to go back in,
Chicken Man.
He's ready to go back in and take care of business because that's what I do for you, Axe. That's what I do for you.
I'm the Dollar Bill in this
I'm
equation.
Dollar Bill. That's what I do for you, Axe. And then they flew home eating a bucket of chicken. It was an outstanding
Great
episode.
episode.
And then, of course,
God,
I'll
that
tell
show's so
Mayock.
How about him grabbing the bowling bag?
I mean,
out of the guy.
he
I
was ready.
actually tweeted Dollar Bill on the bowling bag. I said, Dollar Bill, the guy's dead, and you took a bowling bag. You know what he tweeted back? There wasn't anything he was going to do with it anymore. Outstanding. Dollar Bill. I've got to meet Kelly Acoin. That is one of my things. I've got to meet Dollar Bill.
I can actually make that happen.
Can you make that happen?
I can.
I want Dollar Bill. Is he a football guy?
Yeah, he is.
I know he's a hoops guy.
Yeah. We'll
Dollar bill.
I'll make that happen for you. And then I can't wait to tell Mayock you said that, and he'll go billions. That'll break my salary cap. What are you talking about? Charles Davis at CFD22 on Twitter.
For more of the Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.